No one expected the humans to actually leave. For centuries, they had been the storm that reshaped the galaxy. Brilliant inventors, maddening negotiators, reckless heroes who dove headfirst into disasters that would have annihilated other species. Humanity was unpredictable, inspiring, and terrifying. They changed every battlefield, every treaty, every frontier. They were respected out of admiration or feared out of jealousy. And the Galactic Council feared them most of all. The final debate took place inside the Grand Assembly Hall of Selnar Prime, an enormous living structure grown from crystalline vines capable of conducting telepathic communication. Every seat was filled. Thousands of alien representatives watched as Chancellor Vailrith stood at the center, her 6 jeweled eyes reflecting the room like fractured mirrors. Humanity continues to operate beyond the Council's authority, she said, her voice echoing with artificial amplification. They intervene in conflicts without permission. They build technologies we cannot regulate. They rally species that were once loyal to the Council. Their influence grows far too quickly. If we do not limit them now, we may never be able to. The chamber erupted into applause, clicking mandibles, hissing breath, and vibrating antennae. Only a few remained silent, those who had worked closely with humans and knew what followed conflict. Vailrith raised her hand. Today, we vote to remove humanity from all strategic and scientific privileges, trade restrictions, military isolation, diplomatic containment. The Council must protect itself. There was no human delegate present. They hadn't even been informed. The vote passed with thunderous approval. And in that moment, the fate of the galaxy shifted. The next morning, the first shockwave of confusion hit. Every human embassy across every sector transmitted the same 14 words simultaneously. Humanity hereby withdraws from all Council affairs. We offer no explanation. No threats, no demands, no negotiation. Then the impossible happened. Human colonies, research stations, trading outposts, entire massive cities across dozens of worlds began to power down. Every ship docked in Council space lifted off in unison, engines burning white-hot as they performed synchronized jump drives. The scale was incomprehensible. Thousands of ships gone within minutes. Routes that had been busy for centuries turned black and silent. Alien ambassadors screamed into inactive comms. Military fleets scrambled, but there was nothing to follow. No traceable path, no residual signatures. It was as if humanity had rehearsed their disappearance for years. On Selnar Prime, Chancellor Vailrith watched emergency reports flood her screen. Trade networks collapsing, medical shortages, entire systems begging for assistance that no longer existed. General Torvak of the Threx pounded a clawed fist on the Council table. "Where have they gone? Find them!" But even he sounded afraid. Because everyone realized the same horrifying truth. The galaxy had never understood how much humanity held together. They were the architects, the healers, the peacekeepers, the mad geniuses who refused to let anyone fall. And now they were gone. The Council had demanded a galaxy without humans, and they were about to learn what that truly meant.
Within a week of humanity's disappearance, the once unbreakable infrastructure of the Council began to collapse like brittle glass. Hyperlane relays sputtered and died, plunging sectors into isolation. Medical fleets failed to respond to outbreaks they once cured effortlessly. Border skirmishes reignited as old enemies sensed weakness. World after world sent desperate transmissions to the Council. "Where are the humans?" But no one had an answer. Inside the secure war chamber beneath Selnar Prime, the atmosphere was suffocating. The circular room vibrated with overlapping holographic warnings, red sirens painted across every wall as systems blinked offline. Delegates shouted over each other, voices shrill and panicked. General Korth of the Dravik slammed a fist against the glowing table, cracking its crystal surface. "We must locate their fleets and force them to return. They cannot be allowed to abandon the galaxy." "They didn't abandon us," came a trembling voice. Every head turned. Ambassador Leora Wren, the fragile, feather-winged Velari diplomat who had lived among humans longer than most species lived, stood at the center dais. Her eyes shimmered with grief. She said, "You don't understand who they are. Humans don't run from responsibility. If they left without a single word, something far worse than politics forced their hand." Chancellor Vailrith scoffed, but the crack of uncertainty in her voice betrayed her fear. What threat could possibly drive humanity to hide like prey? Lyra swallowed hard. One we refused to listen to. With shaking hands, she activated a restricted dataset, encoded transmissions stolen from the human high command. A recording flickered to life above the table, distorted and frayed like something damaged in a storm. Static roared, alarms blared in the background, someone shouted orders, chaotic, desperate. Then a voice cut through every communication channel simultaneously. Not human, not any known language, but translated automatically as if its sender wanted to be understood. 3 words. "We found you." Delegates froze. Breath stopped. The galaxy finally understood the truth. Humanity hadn't disappeared because they were dangerous. They disappeared because something far worse was coming. And now, with humans gone, the galaxy stood defenseless.
The message, "We found you," echoed across every active comm channel like a death sentence. It wasn't a warning, it was a declaration. Within hours, the first ships appeared. Not ships, exactly. More like colossal obsidian structures that bent light around them, swallowing color and sound. They emerged from ruptures in space-time like predators stepping through torn fabric. A single vessel hovered over the Nalor system, a metallic eclipse large enough to blot out the sun. Its surface pulsed like living muscle wrapped in armor. The observation feeds showed millions watching in horror as the construct opened like a blooming wound, and a beam of black fire erased the planet below. Not scorched, not destroyed, erased. Gone without ash, without debris, reduced to nothing as if it had never existed. The council chamber erupted into hysteria. "We need the humans!" someone screamed. "They left us to die," another shouted. "No," Leora whispered, trembling. "They tried to save us." Chancellor Valreath turned to her, voice cracking. "Find them. Anything, any signal, any trace. We are out of time." Before the search even began, the sky screamed. A shockwave trembled through every ship's sensors. Space twisted violently, and then, in a blinding flare of blue and white, they returned. The humans. Hundreds, no, thousands of ships crashed out of hyperspace like an avalanche of steel. Sleek warships with hulls forged from unknown alloys, their surfaces marked with a symbol no one had ever seen, a golden circle encasing a burning star. The flagship dwarfed them all, the UNS Vanguard, a titan of a ship larger than cities, engines burning bright enough to stain nearby planets with reflected fire. Commander Elias Ward's voice thundered through the system, raw and furious. "This is Commander Ward of the United Terran Exodus Fleet. All Council forces, retreat behind our formation, now." Gasps filled the chamber. For the first time in days, hope flickered. In orbit, the alien Leviathans shifted, turning their colossal attention toward the human fleet.
And humanity did what they always did. They charged. Without hesitation, without fear, without waiting for permission. The first volley from the Exodus fleet lit the darkness, lances of compressed plasma ripping into the obsidian behemoth. The impact shook the stars themselves. Human fighters streaked across space like burning arrows, slamming into impossible defenses, carving molten scars across the creature's hide. The alien vessel roared, not with sound, but with psychic force that split stone and bone and metal alike. Entire squads of Council soldiers collapsed, screaming as visions stabbed through their minds. Endless darkness, devoured planets, galaxies stripped clean. Leora clutched her head and gasped, "The enemy doesn't conquer, it consumes." Valreath stared at the burning sky, horror freezing her lungs. Humans weren't preparing for war. They were preparing for extinction, Leora finished. On the battlefield, the Vanguard rammed its prow into the monster's core, detonating a shockwave of blinding white light. Space itself buckled. The creature shrieked and imploded, collapsing into a singularity of ash-black void. Cheers erupted across surviving worlds. Council fleets watched in stunned silence. Humanity had just done the impossible. But celebration died instantly when the long-range scanners updated. Hundreds more wormholes opening. Thousands. A wall of darkness moving like an ocean of predators. Commander Ward's final transmission boomed across the galaxy. "This is only the first wave. Stand your ground. We are not done yet." The real war had begun.
The galaxy watched in paralyzed silence as thousands of wormholes tore open across the star map, each one disgorging another colossal black vessel. Space itself looked infected, veins of darkness spreading like a plague across the firmament. Humanity stood between the Council and annihilation. The Exodus fleet formed a defensive wall, engines burning white like miniature suns. Council ships scrambled to fall into formation behind them, trembling in disbelief that the species they had cast out now stood as their shield. Inside the UNS Vanguard, Commander Elias Ward stood at the command platform, face carved from stone, eyes burning with resolve. His officers awaited orders, hands poised over controls. "How long until the second wave reaches firing range?" Ward demanded. 2 minutes, replied Admiral Reyes. "If they break through, every inhabited planet within 10 sectors will be erased." Ward's jaw tightened. "Then they don't break through." In the war chamber on Selnar Prime, fear choked the air. Chancellor Volroth stared at the projection of the battlefield, heart pounding so hard she could hear her own pulse. "We did this. We drove them away. We left ourselves defenseless." "No," Ambassador Leora said, placing a trembling hand over her chest. "They left because they were trying to save us. You never listened." The chamber fell silent as a new transmission cut through, Commander Ward speaking directly to the Council. His voice carried the weight of a civilization. "We didn't leave because we were done with you. We left because we discovered something ancient, something that devours galaxies. We begged you to prepare. You silenced us." Volroth flinched as if struck. "Now the enemy is here, and we will fight. Humanity will always fight. But if we fall, you fall with us. Stand together or be erased alone." The alien Leviathan surged forward, eclipsing the stars. A single piercing tone sounded through the Vanguard, weapon systems locking. Engines roared, fighters launched like lightning.
Ward raised his hand. "Fire everything." The galaxy ignited. Columns of radiant plasma and fusion beams tore into the monstrous fleet. The shock waves cracked space-time itself, scattering debris like burning glass. Council ships, emboldened by human ferocity, charged in alongside them, unleashing the fury of species united for the first time in history. The sky became a battlefield of gods. One by one, the black titans fell, imploding into void singularities that rippled across systems. But with every enemy destroyed, more poured through the ruptures. "Shields failing," Reyes shouted. "If we hold this line any longer—" "We hold," Ward snarled. "Humanity doesn't retreat." A surge of black fire lanced from the largest Leviathan, tearing through the Vanguard's armor. Bulkheads exploded. Officers were thrown to the ground. Flames roared through shattered conduits. Ward staggered, but stayed standing. Blood streaked down his face like war paint. "Activate the Bastion Protocol," he ordered. Reyes froze. "Sir, that will kill us." Ward looked out at the ocean of darkness. "It will save them." He opened a final channel to the galaxy. "Humanity stands. Remember that." The Bastion core ignited, unleashing a supernova of pure white energy that consumed the battlefield. Alien titans disintegrated, wormholes collapsed, the darkness screamed and recoiled. When the light faded, the enemy was gone. So were the humans. Not a single ship remained. Silence fell again across the stars, but this time it carried grief and reverence. On Selnar Prime, every delegate stood in stunned silence. Chancellor Volroth bowed her head, tears falling like crystal shards. "They saved us," she whispered. "After everything, they saved us." Leora looked out at the empty sky. "No," she said softly, "they're not dead. Humanity doesn't die. They're out there, rebuilding, preparing." Her wings trembled. "And when the darkness returns, they will too." Across the galaxy, billions lifted their eyes with hope. Humanity had vanished once more, not in silence, but in legend.